Hello everybody, it's a beautiful Monday here in Ontario, and today's video, as my blackboard dries, is on expression theory. And so if you ever you feel a high fear of judgment from expressing yourself because you're scared of the judgment that may come from you expressing yourself, that is the expression suppression. You suppress yourself, you suppress your expression because the fear of judgment is too high for you to handle. And this can come both in a level 1 sense or in a level 2. And so when I was first practicing my social skills, in the level 1 sense, I had to learn how to go up to someone and ask where the washroom is. I had to go up to someone and learn how to give a compliment, learn how to actually just speak in general, because my fear of judgment was so high that the simple expression of even talking, it was too much for me. I would be like, that's too scary. What if something bad happens? What if they don't like me? What if this? What if that? And really, the fear of judgment for me being able to just do anything was so high. And that was in the level 1 sense. Saying hello to you, making some fun jokes, just talking to someone, right? And then level 2 is something that I learned later on. And level 2 is more emotional conversations where the ego, your identity, is much more involved. And so I can talk to some random person about their day, how their fishing was going, but can I then talk to someone maybe close to me about a mistake that I did? Can I then talk to that person in a moment of tension, right? And so level 2 conversations are going to come out in MOTs, moments of tensions, moment of stress, and that's going to be level 2. And your fear of judgment gets so much higher in level 2 because you're dealing with way more things that are connected to who you are and your identity. When I talk about the weather, when I talk about fishing with some random person, I'm not that connected to those stuff. And so my fear of judgment isn't going to be as high as it would be, say, talking to my mother, talking to a family member, talking to a close friend, talking to someone else about, say, a mistake that I had made, a mistake that they had made, a way that they're treating me, a way that just more emotional conversations go on in level 2. And in that moment, people tend to have such high fear of judgments, or they tend to have bad, conversational skills. They don't know how to handle that moment of tension, that they may get argumentative, defensive, they may lash out, they may get angry, back at other people. And that's at level 2, right? And so why is this happening? Why is a high fear of judgment leading us to suppressing our feelings and or getting mad at other people for things that have gone? Why are we just always so negative and looking at what could be the worst? Well, this is for a couple of reasons. And so a high fear of judgment is not something that people are born with. You're actually born with literally zero judgment. And over as you grow, society and the people around you brings judgments for you to be like, oh, if someone does this, that's bad. If someone does this, this is bad. And this is a good and bad thing. But it is a good thing because if we didn't look at people who murdered someone as bad, we would probably feel a lot less of a barrier to murdering someone, right? To doing something bad. And so if we have a fear of judgment of doing those things, it tends to keep us away from doing that, right? However, in some people's cases, this is too high. And so like everything in life, it's on a scale. And your fear of judgment shouldn't be so bad where you can't even talk to another person. Your fear of judgment shouldn't be so bad that you suppress who you are. And the second is the expression. And so expression, again, is on a scale. And to be able to express yourself is to be able to allow yourself to be seen. And these two concepts are very important. The concept of seenability, and the concept of being able to express yourself. And so both things are on a scale. Well, how do you express yourself less and how do you express yourself more, and where is that on the scale? Well, the expression then comes from the sub-communications and the words that you use. And so both the vocab and the sub-communications is how you express yourself. The actual words that you're using, and then how those words are going to come out from what you are doing, right? And so when I'm speaking to someone, I use this type of voice when I'm speaking to them. Before, when I was much younger and my fear of judgment was way higher, I wouldn't even say anything. I would just do that. And so that's a form of expressing yourself. Whenever there is on a scale, right? I can just say, hello, how are you? Or I can just be like, and all those forms are forms of expression. And so the reason that you have zero expression when you're first born is because you come out of the womb crying, violently shaking your body, maybe not violently, but just being, you don't really care how you're perceived. You're just being yourself and you're just allowing that into the world. When you're hungry, you cry. When this, you cry. When you're happy, you laugh. When you this, you giggle. There's no fear of judgment. It's just not in your brain yet. And as you go over time, you begin to be like, okay, let's not do that. But why? And so even if someone maybe tells a joke, or someone tells a joke and you want to laugh, do you allow your laugh to fill the room, or do you hold your laugh, right? And why is that happening? And so that's the expression part. And then also the seenability part is who around you is being able to observe you, right? Because that also matters. And so people who have who come from families in which they may feel judged a lot of the time, they may not have the best connections, they may not have the closest connections. For you, the ability to express yourself in front of those people may be harder. And they may be harder because the FOJ, the fear of judgment, in front of those people is higher. And there's a whole bunch of things that are happening both in the mind and in the body that allows and makes this fear of judgment high in the way that it is. And so an example is, if you were to laugh, say you found something funny, and you laughed and you went, ha, ha, ha. But maybe a parent or someone else got mad at you. And they liked that and they said, shut up. Well, that is them expressing to you, in a very broad term, some negative energy. And when this negative energy is then expressed to you through the vocab and the subcommunications, so it's not like, oh, shut up, honey. Please stop talking. Right? It's more like, shut up. Stop talking, something like that. And those are happening both in the vocabulary, the actual words I'm using, and then in the subcommunications of how I'm expressing myself, of how those words are coming out, in the tonality, the body language, the facial expressions, and did I say tonality? Facial expressions, tonality, body language, and eye contact, right? So all those are the forms of your subcommunication. And when all those things are kind of negative in the vocabulary, angry in the subcommunications, angry in just in the form that people are expressing themselves, that is what we consider NE, right? And what happens is that you carry that NE, especially from the person you have inside of you, from the person who said it, inside of you then. And this gets stored both in the mind and in the body. Because what's happening when this interaction is occurring, that someone is giving negative energy, especially to a kid or to their own child, well, what's happening inside of that person's brain is, especially if they were just being themselves, right? And so say you're just about your day, or maybe you came home with a bad grade, or you did a mistake, you made a mistake, right? Usually it comes from a mistake, right? You made a mistake, you did something that person did not like. And so they got really mad and they gave you all this negative energy. Well, the words and the things that they say from that is going to be stored inside of your brain. And so you're going to think, oh, if I make a mistake, so if mistake, this is then going to equal pain. Well, it's going to equal pain because I'm either going to get emotionally hit with, you're no good, you're bad, why can't you do anything right? And it's going to be loud, it's going to be angry, it's going to be yelling, there's going to be cursing, there's going to be verbal hurting upon you, right? Verbal pain upon you. And then also there may be physical too, but a lot of it is just verbal. Physical does happen too, but in this context, verbal is more than what we're talking about, right? And the verbal is coming through the vocab and the subcommunications. And so you think to yourself, oh, if I make a mistake, I will be met with pain by the people around me, right? If I do something wrong, the pain will happen. And this is happening because when a person cannot identify, a parent cannot identify mistakes that their kid makes and then meet them with that with positive energy, which is way harder to do, which comes down to understanding, comes down to empathy, it comes down to being calm and relaxed, both in the subcommunications and the vocabulary, and more than just being like, oh, you made a mistake, you're so bad, you're just bad, you're no good. Instead, it's, okay, well, what happened? What's your side of the story? And that's okay, we all make mistakes. We gotta pull ourselves up and get back out there. Okay, every mistake, there's no mistakes, we're just learning from it. And so there's different ways to respond to someone making a mistake. Get loud and angry, or you can do the other thing. And those would be categorized into negative energy or positive energy, both in the words and in the subcommunications. However, if you didn't get that positive energy, and every time that you made a mistake, you just got negative energy, and so this could be like losing your car keys, and then your mom gets very angry at you. And this is going back in childhood when you were developing this high fearic expression. And those things live inside of your brain. And when they do that, they also manifest themselves. They take over the parts of your body too. And so this right here is a concept. This is now a concept that lives in your brain. If I make a mistake, I will usually be met with pain, not understanding, judgment, ridicule. And what happens when that especially does come from a parent, or maybe in a school sense, or wherever you are, is you usually get less love, or you don't get love. And so we can get this, no love. And if you have no love from the people around you, you're most likely going to be excluded. And then if we take this back to the upbringings of just human beings, we're very tribal. We're the most social creatures in the world. And for you to be excluded from the group, your family, from that, well, that is imminent death. Right? And so the pain that you get from making a mistake leads to the feeling of death. And you're like, okay, don't do that again. But if what you were doing was just expressing yourself, it leads to a very maladaptive way of living. It leads to a wrong way of coping with the world because, well, at least where you are right now, because that's what you had to do previously to survive. And so if you were loud and you're being yourself and you're blah, 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 and you always get hit with this pain, this negative energy, well, you're going to, suppress that. And even if you don't want to next time, you're going to think, oh, well, last time when I did this, it didn't turn out so well, so I'm not going to do it. And especially in this exact moment, while it's happening, your body, the actual nervous system of your body, is having some reactions too. And so when this thing is going on, you're getting yelled at, you're getting, the vocabulary is mean to you. Well, you're feeling scared, you're feeling small, you're feeling timid, you're feeling really not good, right? And that's because of actual things going on inside of the body and both in the brain. And so in the body, there is two parts called the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. One is your rest and digest, and the other is your fight or flight. The sympathetic nervous system is the danger one. So when you're feeling danger, that activates. And it activates because in your brain, there's certain parts, and this is a horrible brain, but in your brain, there are certain parts. One of those parts is the amygdala. And this controls something like fear, stuff like that, right? There's also another part called the prefrontal cortex. We'll just say maybe F cortex, right? And not to get too into definitions, but all this is happening is that in your prefrontal cortex, what starts to happen is this higher level thinking. So higher thinking, and from things like this higher level thinking, you're able to convey emotions like compassion, like understanding, things that would be positive energy, right? And this is supposed to kick on. So you'll then get all these signals into your brain. Your fear response, your amygdala, the fear response will heighten because you're sensing, oh, I'm about to get yelled at here. There's about to be some danger, so I'm expecting this danger. The feeling I get is death. And so that body reaction that you get comes from the brain understanding the concept, oh, this is dangerous. This could lead to me not having a connection, losing love, being excluded, and then dying. And so it's like, that is bad. And so it gives you this very uncomfortable feeling telling you to leave the situation. However, in most situations where it is in home, you can't leave that situation. And so your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight is telling you, hey, fight this off or run away or shut down. And because you can't run away from like your own house and you can't fight back your parent or whoever it may be, what tends to happen is you shut down. And the shutdown response is that of the brain saying, okay, this is too much for me to handle. I'm going to block out the rest of the world and I'm just going to boop. And you may get stuck in your own thoughts. You may just think about whatever is in your head and basically not interact with the reality around you because you're just thinking up here, right? And so what happens during just that happening over and over again is that becomes reinforced. Oh, when I expect some type of negative energy from someone, I'm just going to shut down. In other words, you're going to suppress yourself. And for me, it was so bad where the suppression just naturally, I didn't talk to anybody because I felt like if I were to say hello to anybody new, well, this type of interaction would occur. And I would feel that feeling inside of my body too. Anytime I wanted to go to speak to someone new, anytime I was in group settings, I found myself in my body just feeling so uncomfortable. And this is because the brain was detecting something fearful was going to happen from previous experiences. And then it turned off because when you're in that survival state, your body is just saying survive. Everything else does not matter. And so it turned off my prefrontal cortex. It turns off your prefrontal cortex. It turns off the smart part of your brain. This is why you can't think clearly when you're in a moment of tension, in a moment of stress, because you literally cannot, right? Your body and your brain are just being like, okay, get out of here, fight, flight, get out of here, danger. It's a very primal thing inside of you. And so you kind of get taken away from that relaxed, calm thinking that you get when you are comfortable, right? If you ever play chess, you'll know that you play very, very much worse when you're feeling that anxiousness, when you're feeling the nerves. And this is because it's very harder to think when your body is trying to survive this threat of whatever it thinks it is, right? And so the brain then sends signals down into the body. And it sends these signals of hormones and muscle activation and basically just getting your body very tense and primed either to fight back or to run away, or to make you not move at all, to make you look small and not a threat. And it sends hormones of cortisol. And so this is the stress hormone. When you have cortisol in the body, you're going to feel that stress, right? Because that's what the cortisol does. You're also going to feel things like adrenaline. And this is going to get your body pumped up and ready to do whatever you need to do to get out of that dangerous situation. However, in the situation, you can't really run. And so the adrenaline, all that hyper energy that you feel, you have to shut that down. You have to suppress that. And then furthermore, after the situation has ended, still the cortisol still stays in the bloodstream in the body for 3 hours after the fact. And so you're still feeling uncomfortable and nervous and on eggshells even after that has happened, right? And this then manifests into the body of saying, okay, my just base level of cortisol is going to be higher. Imagine you have to deal with this situation every day, right? And that's why being around certain people may make you feel more anxious. It's because the fear of judgment around these type of people, that comes from the expectation of pain. So this is just expecting pain, is high, and so the cortisol in your body rises too, and then you feel more uncomfortable. Also, when you shut down this prefrontal cortex of the brain, things like bonding and talking to other people and expressing yourself also go down too. That's because there's another hormone called oxytocin. And oxytocin is there when you're having a good time with other people. It's the love bonding hormone. And so you can split these up into your cortisol hormone, your stress hormone, and then your oxytocin hormone, your bonding hormone, your love hormone. And so you can feel what hormones are inside of you by just reading and feeling your body. You can be like, oh, I'm very stressed out right now. Well, why is that? It's because my cortisol levels are high. Well, why is my cortisol levels high right now? Am I fearing something? I must be fearing something, right? And this allows you to give more of answers to why you're feeling things. It allows you to demystify what's happening inside of your body. And usually if you're fearing something that actually isn't there, like a lion or a fucking, an actual physical threat to your life, it usually is coming from that fear of judgment, in which if I feel judged, if I feel like I make a mistake, things will not turn out the best for me. I can't do that. That's just not who I am. I can't make a mistake or I'll feel like shit and then people will hate me and then all these things will happen, blah, blah, right? That's all in your head though. But the feeling in the body isn't there, because the feeling in the body had to be there when this situation was happening. And so what happens is that your expression, the actual ability for you to move and be loose and be relaxed, goes lower, because you're always expecting something bad to happen. Well, you being loud and expressive is only going to gain more attention. And when more people look at you, you're going to be more seen. And if you're more seen, well, there's more people to judge you, right? And they're all looking at you. And this happens when you are louder, when you are making eye contact with someone, when you are being more just loose in your body language, when you are able to emote on your face more. If you're so stiff and caught up because you cannot express yourself, well, that's the fear of judgment, right? And so when someone's telling me a joke, I go, or I want to say something, I go, that is me being scared to be seen, and therefore I'm not expressing myself. And this is why certain people can make the fear of judgment higher. Higher and more people can make the fear of judgment even more higher. That's why in groups it may be very hard for you to feel comfortable, is because there's so many people around. The ability, the fear of judgment that you're feeling is like 5x, right? All these other people. And even in then some, it could be even 500x. Because if you get judged by one person negatively, well then all the other people may join them too, and then all be against you, right? So you have all these things in your head, even though that it's not true maybe. All those things are going on in your head very subconsciously. And so the way that you want to get over this is by, first of all, understanding. Being aware is like 90% of the battle, because as soon as you understand what you're dealing with, you know how to approach it. You can understand it and find it in your body and be like, oh, this is happening right now because of this. Does that make logical sense? No? Okay, I should be okay. And then from there, you can then take actions and have courage to express yourself the way that you should, even though that you're feeling these fear of judgments that are imaginary, that don't exist. And so you probably don't go through the same situation that you were when you were living at home, when you were a child being brought up, right? You're now in the real world and you yourself are an adult. However, you still have the memories and the experiences, especially when you're growing up, from those very critical years. And so that doesn't go away. You forget why you respond to things the way you do. You forget why you react to certain things the way you do. because of the certain situations that happened. They're so far long ago, but the body does not forget. The body, it still says, oh, this person is giving me a bad look. I'm now in danger. Something bad could happen. I could be hit. I could be yelled at. I'll be not shamed. I'll be not good enough. All the shame I have will be brought up, and oh my God, I can't do that, so I'm going to run away from there, and I can't take it. For me personally, the fear of judgment was so high because at my family situation, I was so embarrassed about things that were in my family. I didn't want anybody to get close to me because I would tell them this, and then they would not like me, and then they would leave me alone, and then no one else would talk to me, and then I'd be by myself, and then, oh well, right? At least when I hid it to myself and I was able to, at least when I hid it, I was still able to talk to or, be with my friends or be with some other people, but just keep that part of myself hidden. And what happens is that you then begin to hide yourself. And this becomes reinforced the more you do it. So every time that you want to go do something, but you don't do it because you're like, I don't like the outcome that could happen, I'm scared of what could happen, you reinforce that. You reinforce hiding yourself, hiding your intentions, hiding your expression, hiding what you want to, do. And you say to yourself, and you say to the brain, okay, this is who we are. And that rebuilds the identity over and over again, right? But that's just come from things that you've gone in your childhood. And then from there, how do we get over it? Well, now that we're aware of what's happening, it's now identifying what situations and what certain things brings that uncomfortability inside of us. And for a lot of people, it'll just be talking to someone. It could be talking to someone you're attracted to. It could be talking to a boss. It could be talking to or applying for a job, applying for a raise, applying for a promotion. It could be just so many things, right? A lot of the time, it'll be to talking to someone new, talking to someone you like. That's when the fear of judgment will be the most, right? And the way that you get over this is by allowing yourself to express while feeling comfortable in the mind and body. And so what's happening in the body comes from things that are happening in the mind. If I go into my head and I start reliving and I start imagining the things that were bad that happened to me, well, my body's going to have certain reactions to that, right? Naturally, just by me thinking of the memory, my body's going to have certain reactions. And so what we think in the mind will come out in the body. What we feel in the body will come out into the mind. And so when we are feeling this discomfort in our body, we need to be aware of it first, and then we can fix it by switching what's in the mind and then switching what's in the body. And so when you feel that uncomfortability, it's usually, let's say for an example, I want to go talk to someone, and I feel that hesitancy, I feel that second guessing. What if they don't want to talk to me? I have nothing to talk about. I don't know what to say. I don't know how, right? Instead, you, like a normal person, like a person who doesn't have all those things, would just be like, oh, I want to talk to that person. Hey man, how are you? And then just continue it from there and figure it out on the spot. Not thinking so far ahead, right? Because that's just not how communication works. That's not how expressing yourself works. You can't plan your expression. It just comes out, right? It's just you moment to moment. And so what you can do is in the mind, is start saying things. You can start saying mantras. For me personally, things that I used to use was, everybody is a human. I love this person. This person has gone through tears and pain and joy and pride and all the deep emotions that I feel too. This person's no different to me, right? I love you. We're part of the human race. For me to have such a disconnect that I don't even want to talk to you because out of my own fear of judgment, I don't even know who you are, that's selfish on me, right? That's bad on my part. I don't even give you the chance to, I don't even give you a chance, right? And then once I say those things in my mind, it allows me to relax in my body. Then taking maybe some deep breaths, saying those things in my mind, allowing myself just to relax a bit. And again, everything in life is on a scale. So you're not going to relax to a 0, right? But you can relax. You can be like here nervous and then get yourself down to here nervous. And then the lower you get on that fear of judgment, the easier it's going to be to express yourself. The easier it's going to be socially loose, to just come up with things to say, to not overthink and second guess everything that you want to say, everything that you want to do. And it's because you lower the fear of judgment. You said, okay, I'm going to express myself, and no matter what I get back in return, I'm going to be okay with it, right? But that comes from having a core confidence in yourself and a self-love. So because of the things that I went through and that you went through, when you express yourself, it was met with negative energy. What you need to say now is, I'm going to continue to express myself because I love myself. For me to not express myself would be to hide myself, which would not to be to love myself, right? And so I love myself, and so I'm going to do what I want to do. And the energy, the reactions I get back don't determine anything about me personally, right? Sometimes I can get helpful feedback, which is helpful, but your words mean nothing to me. They really don't mean anything. Your judgments, your opinions, right? If I go up to someone and say, hey man, how are you doing? And they say, get the fuck away from me, weirdo. Of course, literally, as the human I am, I'm maybe like, what the hell, that's mean? Odd, right? But I shouldn't, days after that conversation, being like, I am a weirdo. I'm no good. I am a mistake. No one wants to talk to me. I'm not going to have those things in my mind. I'm going to be like, oh, that person was having a bad day. Continue on with my life, and that thing's gone. Right? But if you just overthink all those stuff, then you're not going to be relaxed. And you overthinking those things becomes from you genuinely believing that deep down inside of you, there is shame, and that you believe you may be a mistake. And so the reason why when someone says, get the hell away from me, right? Get the fuck away from me, man. After you say hello to them, and you think, oh my God, I'm not a good person. No one likes me. I can't do anything. All those thoughts are reconfirming thoughts that you already had about yourself, right? If I didn't have any thought of that I'm a bad person, and then someone said that to me, well, I'm not going to be like, oh, yes, I knew I was a bad person. I knew I'm no good. I knew no one wanted to talk to me. I'm going to be like, okay, man, dude, you're kind of mean, bro. Okay, I'm going to take a step back. You're kind of mean. I don't like this. I'm going to leave him, not think about that again, right? And so when the fear of judgment is lower, you're able to express yourself way easier. You're able to laugh, you're able to smile, you're able to connect with that person, ask the questions, give the compliments that you want to give to the world around you, and be able to do what you want to do. When I'm giving chess lessons here with my students, sometimes we're talking, I like to talk, I like to have fun. But a lot of the time too is just me communicating with them simply with my sub-communications. And I'm lowering my fear of judgment to be able to use my sub-communications to be fun and expressive in my body language, which shows I don't have a fear of judgment, which then allows them to feel, oh, this guy doesn't have a fear of judgment. Doesn't seem like he judges people too much. He doesn't judge himself. He's funny, he's silly, he's not taking anything too seriously. I can be like that too. And because I'm like that, their fear of judgment also lowers too. And another thing is people's fear of judgment, you may find, be lower than yours. You're super uptight, they're very loose. You're like, oh my God, how do they do it? And you get jealous of them. You get envious of them. That is also something that happens. But even in that moment too, it's basically not something that you should feel, right? You should be like, oh, there's a human having fun and living his or her best life. Good for them. See how much more positive that mindset is? When you have that more positive mindset just about other people and about life, it allows you to, okay, I want to talk to this person. Positive mindset. Let me go in. Let me talk. I have that positivity already there, other than the negativity that resides in my brain. So I was on the phone earlier today, and I was calling someone, and I just immediately could tell. I could feel the hostility. I could feel the negativity in her voice. I could feel just like I didn't want to talk to that person anymore, right? That person was just bringing out things, and that person just wasn't making me feel comfortable, right? Because they were just like kind of mean. They were giving me an E. Now, while I was talking to them, I could say, oh my God, I'm getting an E. I'm feeling really bad about myself. I don't want to deal with this. I want to just hang up. I want to say, you're being mean. Screw you. Goodbye. I didn't do that, right? What I did was simply control myself, control my emotions, and remain giving that person positive energy. How are you doing? And they weren't giving me explicit negative energy. They weren't saying anything mean. They weren't doing anything like that. But in their subcommunications, I could feel in their voice. I could feel in just the way that they talked, that it was a bit more negative. It was kind of draining, right? And I didn't get sucked into that. I still was positive. I still talked to that person with a smile on my face. I said, okay, awesome talking to you. Have a great day. I'll see you later, right? I just didn't get affected by that. Why would I allow someone else's opinions and words and judgments to affect me, right? But it's because I'm perceiving those to be there, because I'm perceiving those to be there is why I'm interpreting it like that, right? She could have been totally positive and happy. It's just in my brain, I think she's coming from a negative place because that's just what I'm so accustomed to. That's what I'm so used to. I believe everyone's attacking me. Because I have this negative mindset. I have this thing inside of myself that's saying, maybe I'm not good. Maybe I'm a mistake. I hold shame about myself. Anytime those things come up that could reaffirm it, I get so reactive to it that I have to calm myself down and still come from a place of positive energy. And so now that you know what's happening inside of the body, where it's coming from, and some things that you could do to relax yourself, the last thing is you then need to, and the only way that you're going to grow is by then going into those conversations with other people and expressing yourself, both level 1 and level 2, right? And so when you maybe hurt someone's feelings, maybe you forget someone's names, you're saying, oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to forget your name. Instead of being like, well, I don't know, it's hard to remember people's name, and I could have done that because you did this, and I was doing that because of this. And you're avoiding all the things where it's like, just take accountability. But if you were to take accountability for a mistake that you made, and you believe yourself to be, not a good person, well, that would reconfirm what you don't want to be. You don't want to be a bad person, but you think you are. And when you do actions that hurt other people, it's hard to take accountability for those actions, because when you do, it would seem like you're calling yourself a mistake. You're saying that you're not a good person, which isn't the case, but it's what you're thinking in your head. So if I'm talking to someone and I say the wrong thing, or I make a joke that doesn't land, or anything like that happens, I don't think to myself, oh my God, I'm a bad person. I just be like, okay, so what? I'm like, okay, so what? I say sorry, I'm like, okay, my bad. And I just continue. My apologies. I didn't mean to hurt you. That's on me. That's really on me. And then I just continue, right? I don't, in my head, be like, oh, see, I messed up. I'm a bad person. I didn't all that. It's just not there. And when you're able to do this, you're able to lower the fear of judgment. Your expressions, both in the eye contact, the looseness, the body language, it's going to be a lot more free-flowing. And so that's going to look like the difference between, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Versus, hey, how are you? Nice to meet you. Hi, my name's Hassan. Yeah, I just came back from the store. I had a nice chocolate bar. It's pretty easy. I like my Kit Kats. I like my Twix bars. Put them together. I have the best day of my life. Versus, yeah, I had my Twix bar and my Kit Kat and put them together. In one of those cases, I'm totally okay being myself, being free and loose, and that energy is coming across in the subcommunications. In the second version, and in the first version where I'm loose, I'm totally okay being seen. I'm okay you seeing my good, my bad, myself. I don't care, right? I'm just okay with you seeing me. And then on the second version it's hesitant. I don't mean to. It's second guessing, and that is showing to the other person, oh, this guy has a high fear of judgment. And when they feel other people have a high fear of judgment, their fear of judgment is going to go high too, right? And so when their fear of judgment go high too, they don't want to be in that energy, and they're going to associate that energy with you, and they're not going to be with you, right? Or want to be around with you, because you're just coming out with this high negative fear of judgment energy. And so the way that you practice that is in those moments, still being loose and expressive. And it may be forcing yourself, right? I have to force myself sometimes too, but it's just to show my brain, oh, I can be my loose self. I can be loose. I can be fun. I can be a bit louder. I can laugh and not hide it. I can say that joke and not, think twice about it and just say it out there and be okay what's ever going to happen next. And then I show my brain I can do that. My brain says, oh, you didn't die like I thought you would in the past. You're chill. And actually, people like it. And actually, it felt good. And actually, this is awesome. Let's do more of that. And then you begin to rewire the brain into wanting to do more of that and to be comfortable with it. So this is a quick explanation on expression theory. If you guys need more help with that, if you want to improve your social skills, learn how to lower some social anxiety, learn to lower your fear of judgment, the description in the there's a link in the description below. You can book a private consultation call with me, and I can help you out with that. Thank you so much for watching, boys and girls. Love you. Peace out.